You're wearing clothes right now. You've been wearing clothes every day of your life. You have never seriously questioned why. The obvious answer is warmth, protection from the cold, survival in harsh environments. That answer is about 30% correct. Stay with me, because the real reasons humans started wearing clothes are stranger, more interesting, and more revealing about human nature than most people have ever considered. Let's start with the timing, because the timing alone should make you pause. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, appeared on Earth around 300,000 years ago in Africa, where it was warm. The archaeological evidence for clothing, specifically the needles, awls, and scrapers used to make fitted sewn garments, shows up clearly in the record around 50,000 years ago. That means for the first 250,000 years of human existence, the evidence for clothing as we understand it is sparse at best. 250,000 years in Africa without clothes. If clothing were primarily about warmth and survival, we would expect to see it appear when humans moved into cold climates, and there is some truth to that. Evidence of clothing-related tools does increase as populations move northward, but here is what the standard explanation misses entirely. Researchers studying the DNA of human body lice that live specifically in clothing, not on the body, have used genetic mutation rates to estimate when clothing lice first diverged from head lice. The answer comes back to somewhere between 83,000 and 170,000 years ago. That is earlier than most physical evidence of clothing tools, which means humans were wearing something, likely simple draped animal skins, long before they developed the needle technology to make fitted garments. But even that doesn't explain why, because here is what almost nobody talks about. Humans are one of the only mammals on Earth that lost their body hair. Chimpanzees have it, gorillas have it. Every other great ape has a coat of fur. We don't. And the standard evolutionary explanation that we lost our fur to help regulate body temperature during long-distance running and hunting in the hot African savanna is probably true, but it left us with a problem. We were naked in a world full of insects. The parasite load on a hairless primate living in tropical Africa is staggering. Mosquitoes, flies, ticks, biting insects of every kind. Without fur to provide any barrier, human skin was exposed in a way that no other primate had to deal with. Covering the body, even with a loosely draped animal skin, dramatically reduced insect access to skin. It reduced bites. It reduced the transmission of the diseases those bites carried. Malaria, sleeping sickness, dengue. These are not modern problems. They are ancient problems. And in a world without medicine, reducing your exposure to insect bites was not a comfort. It was survival. The first function of clothing may not have been warmth. It may have been insect protection. But there is a third reason that almost never gets discussed, and this one changes everything about how you understand why clothing became universal across every human culture on Earth. Social signaling. Humans are extraordinarily sensitive to social status. We read each other's bodies constantly. We make rapid assessments about health, age, reproductive fitness, social rank, group membership. Clothing fundamentally changed what information the human body broadcast. Before clothing, every observer could assess every other person's health status directly. Skin condition, parasite load, wounds, nutritional state. Everything was visible. Clothing concealed that information, and controlling what information you broadcast to others is power. A person who could cover a wound or a skin condition appeared healthier than they were. A person who decorated their covering with shells, pigment, or feathers announced status, group affiliation, and access to resources. Every piece of clothing ever worn has been, simultaneously, both a practical object and a communication device. And here is where it gets genuinely strange. Researchers who study shame and body covering across cultures have found something consistent. The specific body parts covered vary dramatically between cultures. What is considered exposed in one culture is perfectly modest in another, but virtually every human culture covers something. Not always the same things, but something. This universality, covering happening everywhere across all human cultures, even in hot climates where thermal protection is irrelevant, points strongly toward the social signaling function being primary. In environments where warmth was not an issue, humans still covered themselves because the social reasons for covering were always present, and those social reasons were deeply tied to something that appears to be a specifically human psychological development: the sense of being observed. Humans are one of the very few species that experience something like shame, the awareness that others can perceive us, combined with a drive to manage what they perceive. This requires a level of self-awareness and theory of mind that most animals simply don't develop. Clothing is the physical expression of that awareness. It is what happens when a species becomes conscious of itself as an object of other people's perception and begins actively managing the signal. And once that psychological shift happened, once humans became aware of the information their bodies broadcast and developed the impulse to control it, clothing became not just useful, but necessary. Not necessary for warmth, necessary for being human in the social sense, necessary for managing identity, status, group membership, and the information available to everyone who looks at you. You are not wearing clothes because you are cold. You are wearing clothes because your ancestors became aware that other people were watching them, and they decided to do something about it. That awareness is still running in you right now. If you want to know, you know what to do.